I want to start today with what sounds like a medical mystery.
Okay.
But it's really, a story about the messy, just the complicated wiring of the human brain.
All right.
It starts with a woman walking into the office of a Dr. Dan Goodman.
Oh, I think I know this case. The patient who was desperate to get rid of her glasses.
Desperate is the right word.
I-
She hated them. She felt like they defined her in like the worst possible way.
Right.
So she goes in for the surgery. Dr. Goodman does his work. And technically speaking, it is a flawless procedure.
She's a total home run.
A total home run. So she wakes up, opens her eyes.
So you can see 20/20 without the frames.
Exactly. Perfect
Yeah.
vision. But here's where it gets weird. She comes back for a post-op checkup. And instead of being thrilled, she is absolutely despondent.
Devastated.
Devastated. She looks Dr. Goodman in the eye and tells him, "You have ruined my life."
Which is just, it's baffling, right? She paid for clear vision.
Yeah.
She got clear vision. Why is she saying he ruined her life?
That's what Goodman couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
So he presses her on it. He really, digs in. And finally, the truth spills out.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't just want 20/20 vision. She had constructed this.
Yeah.
This whole elaborate narrative in her head that her glasses were the only thing holding her back. She believed that the moment the glasses came off, her husband would suddenly find her irresistible, her coworkers
would suddenly see how smart she was.
Right.
Her entire social existence would just upgrade.
Exactly. And when the bandages came off,
Her husband was still her husband. Her job was still her job.
she was still just herself.
That's heartbreaking. But it's such a perfect example of the trap we fall into. I think Goodman essentially told her, you have a problem, but it's not one my laser can fix.
And that, right there, is the perfect launch pad for today's deep dive. We're unpacking The Art of Spending Money by Morgan Housel.
Mm-hmm.
And the core premise is exactly what that patient experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Getting what you want, whether it's perfect eyes or a bank account with 6 zeros, it often reveals that it wasn't actually what you needed.
It's such a necessary follow-up to his previous book, The Psychology of Money. I mean, if you think of that first book as the manual on how to get wealth.
Right. How to save, how to invest.
Let compound interest do its thing. This new material is entirely about how to use it. And honestly, I think this part is harder.
It definitely feels harder. I mean, we're taught math in school. We know how to put numbers in a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But Housel argues that money isn't math. It's psychology. It's emotion. It's the stories we tell ourselves at 2 a.m.
It's less about being rich and more about being wealthy. And yes, before you roll your eyes, there is a massive difference between those two words, which we are absolutely going to break down.
But first, we have to look at the why. Why do we spend money the way we do? Housel shares this incredible anecdote about a valet.
Right, at a 5-star hotel in LA.
Yeah, he's surrounded by the super rich parking Bentleys and Ferraris. And one night, he overhears a guy talking about a piece of furniture he just bought.
The armchair.
A $21,000 armchair.
Just let that number sit for a second. That is the price of a decent Honda Civic for a place to sit.
Right. It's wild. And look, if you're a billionaire, maybe that's pocket change. But the way the guy described it was so telling.
Mm-hmm.
He basically tells the valet, I know, it's crazy. I don't even know if I like it.
Yeah.
But when you have money, this is just what you're supposed to do.
That phrase is the key. Supposed to do. He wasn't buying a chair. He was buying, well, a prop for a role he was trying to play.
A social script. It sounds miserable, honestly.
Yeah.
Buying stuff you don't even like because you think it's part of the uniform.
It is miserable. But Housel brings up a really compassionate point here. He says, all behavior makes sense with enough information.
Right.
It's easy for us to sit here and judge the guy with the $21,000 chair as, an idiot. But if you understood his social circle, his insecurities, the pressure he feels to maintain that status, it makes a twisted kind of sense.
Housel uses a pretty heavy analogy to explain this context idea. He
Okay.
talks about his brother-in-law, who's a social worker.
Right. He works with foster kids who come from really severe backgrounds, poverty, neglect, trauma.
And these kids, they often display what schools would just call bad behavior.
They fight, they hoard food, they don't trust authority. But the social worker explains that if you look at where they came from, that behavior isn't bad, it's adaptive. It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah, if you grew up not knowing when your next meal was coming.
Hoarding food is a brilliant strategy.
So if we pivot that back to money, when we see someone doing something that looks irrational with their cash, whether it's a billionaire buying a golden toilet or
someone living paycheck to paycheck, blowing it all in a luxury handbag, it's usually an attempt to heal a wound. Or to fill a void, look at the Roaring '20s.
The Great Gatsby era.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We glamorize it now, the parties, the flappers. But Housel points out this explosion of spending happened right after World War I and the Spanish flu.
So much trauma.
You had millions dead, a generation traumatized, and just incredible poverty. When the economy finally turned, people didn't just spend for fun, they spent to prove they were alive.
A columnist at the time, Robert Quellen, wrote something in 1928 that it stuck with me. He said, "The more you were snubbed while poor, the more you enjoy displaying your wealth."
That is the crux of it. Spending is often therapy. It's a way to say, I made it, you can't ignore me anymore. If you grew up feeling invisible, a bright red sports car feels like a solution.
Which brings us to one of the most mind-bending concepts in this deep dive, the man in the car paradox.
I love this one because it just ruins you. Once you hear it, you can't unsee it.
Okay, so here's the scenario. You're walking down the street. A Ferrari rumbles past.
Yeah.
It's sleek, it's loud, it's expensive. Your head turns.
Of course.
You look at the car and you think, man, that is cool. If I had that car, people would think I'm fascinating. People would think I'm successful.
But here's the paradox.
Yeah.
You, the pedestrian, are looking at the car. You are not looking at the driver.
Not at all.
You don't care about the guy behind the wheel. You don't know if he's nice or smart or a total jerk. You are just using him as a mannequin for your own fantasy.
That's the disconnect. The driver bought the car because he wants people to admire him. But the people on the street are just admiring the object.
Exactly. Housel calls it the illusion of admiration. We chase these status symbols because we want to be attended to. Adam Smith wrote about this way back in 1759.
Wow.
He said the chief reason we chase riches is to be observed, to be attended to be taken notice of.
We want to feel important.
We do, but the tragedy is that objects don't transfer that respect to the owner. When you see a mansion, you admire the architecture. You don't automatically admire the owner. In fact, you might even assume the owner is probably unbearable.
So Housel suggests a mental exercise to combat this. He calls it the reverse obituary.
This is such a great reality check. Fast forward to your funeral. What do you want people to say about you?
He was funny. He was kind. He showed up when I needed him.
Right. You want to be remembered for your character. No one puts the square footage of their house in their eulogy.
No one lists the model of their BMW on their tombstone.
Here lies Dave. He had heated seats.
It's ridiculous when you say it like that.
It sounds ridiculous, but we spend 40, 50, 60 years of our lives chasing the heated seats, thinking that's what will get us love and respect. But that comes from the stuff that's free, kindness, attention, empathy.
So we need to draw a hard line here between two types of spending, utility versus status.
This is the most practical filter you can use for your own budget. Utility is buying a thing because of what it does for you.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, take a Toyota Land Cruiser. It's expensive, sure. But maybe you buy it because it's incredibly reliable, the leather is comfortable for your bad back, and you live somewhere with heavy snow. You're buying it for the experience of driving it.
That's utility. So status.
Status is buying the entry-level luxury car. Maybe it has a smaller engine, plastic seats, no features, just because it has the badge on the hood.
You're not buying it for your experience.
No, you're buying it for the stranger at the stoplight. You're buying it for them.
And the problem with the status game is that it's rigged, isn't it?
Oh, you cannot win it. C.S. Lewis called this the inner ring. You spend your whole life trying to get into the cool circle, the country club, the executive lounge. But the second you get inside,
You realize there's another one.
there is another, smaller, more exclusive ring inside that one. And another. You are always on the outside of something.
It's a treadmill. You run and never actually get to the place where you feel enough.
Which brings us to happiness. Because we all have this equation in our heads. Money equals happiness.
If I just had $1 million, I'd be happy.
But Housel flips that. He says happiness equals results minus expectations.
The gap.
The gap. That's
Wow.
the secret sauce. Happiness isn't a number. It's the gap between what you expected and what you got.
There's this story about Michael May that illustrates this perfectly. It's almost hard to believe.
Michael May was blinded in a chemical accident when he was 3 years old. Lived his whole life in total darkness. Then, at age 46, he undergoes this pioneering stem cell surgery.
And it works.
It works. He wakes up with vision.
Can you even imagine seeing the world for the first time in 43 years?
It's overwhelming. But do you know what he was most excited about?
What?
The carpet. The ugly, gray, industrial carpet in the waiting room.
No way.
He was literally shouting, "Look at this! Look at the texture, the shapes!" He was ecstatic, staring at a rug.
Wow.
Now think about everyone else in that waiting room. They can all see. Are they happy about the carpet?
No, they're probably annoyed that the doctor's running late.
Exactly. Their expectation is, I see carpet every day. Who cares? Michael's expectation was darkness. His reality was gray carpet, so the gap was huge and he was flooded with joy.
It really shows that you can't buy happiness if your expectations rise every single time your income does.
That's the hedonic treadmill. You get a raise, you feel great for a month, then you get used to it, you buy the nice car, it's thrilling for a week, then it's just your car.
Housel quotes that great line. Happiness is that feeling you get right before you need more happiness.
It's biological. It's dopamine. We think dopamine is the pleasure chemical. It's not. It's the pursuit chemical. It's the brain saying, go get that berry or go get that promotion.
And once you get it,
the dopamine shuts off. You're left wanting the next thing.
This reminds me of the Mexican fisherman story. I feel like this is a classic fable, but Housel frames it so well here.
It's a classic for a reason. So you have this high-powered American investment banker on vacation in a small coastal village in Mexico.
Okay.
He's walking by the dock and sees a fisherman pulling in a boat with a few beautiful tuna.
And the banker, being an efficiency expert, asks him, "How long did it take you to catch those?"
The fisherman says, "Oh, just a little while." The banker asks, "Why didn't you stay out longer and catch more?"
The fisherman just shrugs and says, "This is enough to feed my family." The banker is confused. "But what do you do with the rest of your time?"
And the fisherman smiles. He says, "I sleep late, I fish a little, I play with my kids, take a siesta with my wife. In the evenings, I stroll into the village, sip wine, and play guitar with my amigos."
Sounds like a dream life.
It does. But the banker, he's an MBA, remember, he scoffs. He says, "Look, I can help you. You should spend more time fishing. Buy a bigger boat.
Wow.
With the profits, you buy a fleet of boats. You open your own cannery. You move to Mexico City, then LA, then New York. You list the company on the stock exchange and make millions."
The fisherman asks, "How long will all that take?" The banker says, "Maybe 20, 25 years.
"And then what?" asks the fisherman.
The banker just grins. "That's the best part. Then you retire. You move to a small coastal village. You sleep late, fish a little, play guitar with your amigos."
He was trying to sell the fisherman a 25-year grind to get back to exactly where he already was.
It's such a slap in the face to hustle culture. We're working so hard to buy freedom, but we often sacrifice the freedom to do the work.
And that leads us to the most important definition in this whole discussion. The difference between being rich and being wealthy.
We use these words as synonyms, but Housel draws a hard line in the sand.
A very hard line. He says, rich is a current income statement. It's what you make. It's cash flow.
So, rich is visible.
Rich is loud. Rich is the guy in the Bentley. We know he's rich because we can see the money leaving his account to pay for the car. Rich is what you spend.
Yeah, and wealthy.
Wealth is the balance sheet. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the money that was earned but not spent. It's the assets, the savings, the investments.
So rich is, look at me, and wealth is, I have options.
Precisely. Wealth buys you the one thing that actually matters. Freedom. Independence. The ability to wake up and say, I can do whatever I want today.
Housel uses the Vanderbilt family as the ultimate cautionary tale here, and I think we need to appreciate the scale of this story.
Oh, it's staggering. Cornelius the Commodore Vanderbilt, when he died in 1877, he was the richest man on earth. His fortune, adjusted for inflation, would be worth over $300 billion today.
That's more than Elon Musk. That is buy a country money.
He intended to build a dynasty that would last forever, but then you have the heirs. Specifically, let's look at his grandson, Reggie Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Reggie was rich, but he was not wealthy.
What was his lifestyle like?
He was a playboy, a gambler, a serious drinker. He had no interest in creating anything. He only knew how to consume. He inherited a massive chunk of that fortune, and he blew through it with impressive speed.
He died at 45.
Wrecked by alcohol and financially hollowed out. And within, 50 years of the Commodore's death, the family had a reunion, and there wasn't a single millionaire left among them. $300 billion. Gone.
Because the money controlled them. They were slaves to their own lifestyle.
Housel calls this wealth without independence. If you need to spend $1 million a year just to keep up appearances, you are arguably poorer than the guy making $50,000 who has 0 wants.
That's a bold statement.
But think about it. Reggie Vanderbilt had no options. He had to keep dancing for society. Contrast that with someone like John Urschel.
The football player.
Yeah. Offensive lineman for the Baltimore Ravens, making millions in the NFL. But he lived on $25,000 a year.
Wow.
Drove a used hatchback. Lived like a grad student.
Why?
Because he wanted to be a mathematician. And because he saved his money, because he built wealth instead of acting rich, he had the freedom to retire from the NFL early, preserve his brain health, and go get his PhD at MIT.
His money bought him a new life.
Exactly. That is level 15 independence. House talks about these levels of freedom. Level 0 is total dependence, you're a slave to your debt. Level 14 is F you money. But level 15 is just autonomy.
Doing what you want with whom you want for as long as you want.
Right, but there's a trap that keeps most of us from ever reaching that level. Housel calls it social debt.
This is a concept that I think explains so much of our modern anxiety. It starts with a story about a drug lord.
Right, Frank Lucas,
Yeah.
the real-life inspiration for the movie American Gangster. In the 70s, he was running the heroin trade in Harlem, making $1 million a day. And for a long time, the feds couldn't touch him because he was disciplined. He dressed like a businessman. He stayed quiet.
Until the boxing match.
The Ali Frazier fight. Lucas shows up ringside wearing a full-length chinchilla coat. It cost $100,000 and a matching $25,000 hat.
Talk about painting a target on your back.
It was too loud. The prosecutors took one look at that coat and said, who is that guy and where did he get that money? That coat was the beginning of the end for him.
Okay, but most of our listeners aren't heroin kingpins trying to evade the DEA. How does social debt apply to, say, a graphic designer in Chicago?
It applies to everyone. Think about it. When you buy a status object, let's go back to that luxury car, you think you're buying an asset, but socially, you are buying a liability.
So?
Because now you have to maintain the image that goes with the car. You can't park a pristine Porsche on the street. You need a garage. You worry about scratches. You worry about being seen in sweatpants getting out of it.
You have to perform the role.
You have to perform the role of the successful person who owns that car. You become a servant to your stuff.
Yeah, but the debt.
That worry, that maintenance, that need to keep upgrading so you don't look like you're slipping, that is social debt. And it eats away at your peace of mind.
So what's the antidote? If we want to avoid social debt, if we want to be wealthy instead of rich, what do we do?
Housel calls it quiet compounding.
I like the sound of that.
Look at a tree, a giant redwood. It's
Yeah.
massive. But if you stare at it for 24 hours, you won't see it grow. It grows silently, imperceptibly, year after year. It doesn't scream for attention.
It just does the work.
Real wealth building is boring. It's about getting rich slowly. It's about keeping your financial identity small.
Keep your identity small. What does that mean?
It means don't label yourself. If you tell everyone, I'm a big spender, I enjoy the finer things, you trap yourself. You have to spend to maintain that identity. But even the opposite is dangerous.
The miser.
Yeah, if you identify as a miser, you might die with millions but never actually enjoy a nice dinner.
So the goal is to be fluid. Let money be a tool, not a costume.
Exactly. The most successful people Housel studied, like Chuck Feeney, the billionaire who gave away $8 billion to charity and died in a rented apartment. They didn't let money define who they were. They used money to execute their values.
Which brings us to the final thought. And I want to end with this because it was the most emotional part of the source material for me. It's the story of the priest.
This one hits home. This priest spent decades working in a hospital, giving last rites to dying patients. He sat with thousands of families in their final moments.
And he noticed a pattern, a really distinct difference between the unhappy families and the loving ones.
In the strained families, the ones where relationships were rocky or cold, the children would often try to bridge the gap with gratitude for things. They'd say, Dad, thank you for the house. Thank you for paying for college. Thank you for the car.
It was transactional. They were thanking him for the rich part.
Right. But in the loving families, the ones where the room was filled with warmth, the kids never mentioned this stuff. They didn't talk about the inheritance or the gifts. They almost all said the exact same sentence.
Thank you for believing in me.
That's it. Thank you for believing in me. You can't buy that at a dealership. You can't put that on a credit card.
It's the ultimate proof that while money is a necessary tool, we need it to eat, to be safe, to have options. The things that actually make a life wealthy are completely separate from the balance sheet.
Money can buy you independence, which is huge, but it can't buy you the obituary you actually want.
So here's our challenge to you for this week. It's an audit, but not a financial one.
Don't just look at what you spent. Look at why you spent it. Ask yourself, am I buying utility or am I buying status?
Am I trying to look rich or am I trying to be wealthy? And are you paying social debt on things that you don't even really like?
Stop performing for the strangers at the stoplight. They aren't looking at you anyway.
Start quietly compounding. Because the goal isn't just to make a living, it's to make a life. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.